Hey, nice to meet you. My name's Anna, the author of The Sound of Your Soul. So, 3 things you might not know about me. Number 1, when I lived in Africa, I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in Africa. Yes, it was hard, and yes, it was brilliant. You get up at 4 o'clock, the crack of dawn, to ascend the summit, and when you get there, you get to see sun rising. And actually, when we were climbing it, there was a thunderstorm below us, which was weird. And actually, my time in Africa creeps into the book, The Sound of Your Soul. There's a whole section where Callie, the main character, goes off to Tanzania and she meets a shaman. So it very much influenced my writing as well. Secondly, I used to be a QVC presenter, so I can talk for 20 minutes about a pencil, but don't worry, I won't do it here. You're quite safe. And thirdly, when I was in South Korea recently, because they found out I worked in radio, they decided I could sing, which not really. Anyway, they said song. So I ended up having to stand up with a microphone and do a song in front of everyone at a wine festival in South Korea. I first realised I wanted to be a writer when I was very, very young. It's always been inside me. I've always wanted to do it. And I remember the author, Julia Donaldson, the children's author, came to our assembly. We were all sat on the floor, cross-legged, when I was about 6 years old, and she said to everybody, who wants to be a writer when they grow up? And of course, every single hand shot up, and I remember thinking as a 6-year-old, but hang on, I actually do want to be a writer. I think you're just saying that because she's asked you. And the dream has just grown and grown, I suppose, since then. I was inspired to write The Sound of Your Soul when I was lucky enough to live in central London. So I lived in Bloomsbury at the creative heart of things. Not far away, of course, from the British Museum. And I used to love going there, it's free, and I became quite obsessed with the Egyptian section. A lot of people love that, the magic, the mystery, all the mummies wrapped up and their organs in canopic jars. And I guess the idea kind of grew on me from that. And actually, the main character kind of came organically. I've always enjoyed writing and I've always just kind of scribbled away, I suppose, in my room. And this voice kept coming through, the voice of Callie, until I thought there's a bit more to it than that. It's not just to scribble, it's going to be a book. So I guess that, allied with my experiences at the British Museum, kind of gave me the impetus that I needed to start the book. So no, Callie isn't based on any real characters. She's not based on anyone I know. Although you could say with Callie and Simon, the husband and wife team, Callie describes herself as the moon and Simon as the sun. They're very different. Simon is very effervescent, very optimistic, very bright. Callie, very morose, very plangent, and she's the voice of the novel, and if you read it, you'll feel that coming through. And I guess they're kind of 2 sides of my personality, really. Bright and bubbly, yes, but I also have my deeper side as well, so there you go. Now, I wrote my first book when I was only about 8 years old. I was at school actually, and with my best friend Amy, we wrote a book called Mary on the Jelly, and we illustrated it, and it was a pop-up book as well. Unfortunately, it was about our friend Mary, who wasn't too happy because it's about her sitting on a jelly. We did manage to win her round in the end. I think she quite enjoyed the book. But we were lucky actually, because the teacher liked it as well. So everyone else would be doing their normal lessons, and she'd say, Amy and Anna, you can work on Mary on the Jelly. Goodness knows why, but it happened, and I guess I've been writing ever since. When I'm not writing, well, I've mentioned I work in radio and I love my job. I'm so lucky to be able to communicate, speak to people all across Kent. I work for BBC Radio Kent. I also enjoy running, being active, yoga, being outside, having adventures with my husband, and painting as well, actually. The main character, Callie, in the book is an artist, and I guess that's part of my personality as well. I really enjoy drawing and painting. Actually, it's funny because when I first wrote it, I had her as a journalist, because people say write about what you know, and I was working in a newsroom at the time, so I thought, well, yeah, hi, I'll do that. But Callie sort of kept talking to me and saying, I'm not a journalist, I don't work in a newsroom, I hate this, I'm an artist, listen to my soul. And so I changed what she did, and I think it works a lot better. One of the most surprising things I found out about the book actually is about soul. I researched it after I'd already made up what I wanted to say, and I'd kind of thought deeply about soul. But I found out that actually a lot of the things that I thought I'd made up actually exist in other parts of the world, in other cultures. They believe them, and they're part of the fabric of their belief, if you like. So I learned a lot that way. I also found out that jellyfish have no brain. Who knew? And there are a network of tunnels underneath London that they used to use to deliver the rail mail, and you can go down there actually. I've been, it's really good. After lockdown, you can go and have a look at that. So The Sound of My Soul, apart from Mary on the Jelly, of course, it's my first proper novel, but I'm working on my second one during lockdown, and I'm really enjoying that, kind of getting into a different subject with different cast and different characters. What do I think makes a good story? Good characters, as I just mentioned, I think. Good characters, a lot of emotion, drive, A lot of magic, of course, along the way as well, and just something you've written from your heart. I think you can tell if something is authentic, if something is original and creative, or whether you're just ripping something off, I suppose, copying it. As a child, I wanted to be a writer. I mentioned that when I grew up. It's always been a dream of mine, so I'm so lucky that Pegasus chose to publish my book. It took me 2 years to write, and I know that because, as I said, I'd been sort of scribbling away, working on sketches, I suppose, about the main character and the plot and stuff. And then on Halloween 2012, I sat down, I thought, right, I'm going to make this concrete, I'm going to make this real. And it was good because I had a start date, so I can tell you it took me 2 years to write after that. Then I had my first draft, and of course I tinkered around with it. I was advised to kind of streamline it, so I took loads of bits out and thought, do you know what, no, I want them in there, put them all back. So actually the draft that the copy that you're reading now is actually quite close to the original, that original draft that I wrote 2 years after Halloween 2012. What advice would I give to inspiring authors? Write, obviously. Don't beat up on yourself. Don't worry, don't be too self-conscious, just let it flow, let it all come out, enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, don't do it, quite frankly. And remember that you're the only one that can write your book. It's got to come from you. So take advice from other people, yes, but this is your project. This is your baby that you're putting out into the world, and you're the only one that can do that, that can sow those seeds properly. And of course, and I think perhaps this is the most important, and it applies to everything in life, doesn't it? Never, ever, ever give up.